in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
See what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying. You don't want to miss this unique, informative audience participation, light-hearted show with lots and lots of Cayman jokes, culture, and guests. As we talk about things we say and do, it happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
See what I'm saying is a special feature of Talk Today, jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman. A language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FM. See what I'm saying? Begins right now.
Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. And in the background, say it again.
Third Friday.
Hopefully
it won't be
the third Friday?
Yeah, hopefully it won't be that.
Well, that is no one other than Ray Banker himself.
See what I'm saying? We finally made it.
You know what we were thinking? I was just thinking as I was looking at all the information that part of that test that we take to identify who we are and to be, you know, agreed into the society should be two things. One, you have to demonstrate you listen to the show. What's the second one?
Well, have a good patience and a good open mind,
and join us. He is probably busier now than he was when he was in the Air Force. You know, part of that Operation Hard Attack, or when he was Director of Broadcasting. Mr. Loxley Ebanks, thank you, sir. I trust and pray that individuals like you would always have that level of not just energy and enthusiasm, but bring, you know, to us young folks that patience so you can put up with us. But thank you, sir.
What did you say?
I don't think he got time for patience.
Come on, young man, spit it out. No, but for those who are joining us, and again, we were hoping to raise the fence. We were ready to have the show last week, Friday. I had a couple of things that took me out for longer than I expected, but it gave us more time, Ray.
Sorry, we understand.
Right, to be able.
I still needed more time at the end.
Yeah, and I'm going to start first before I ask Mr. Loxley. Ray, in doing the research on Cayman and the connections, the relations, the interactions that we have as a society, two questions. Does it surprise you how wide and varied and extensive it is? And secondly, does it surprise you that it goes back potentially, and Ms. Loxley, I'll ask you, not as far as it does?
Well, there's one part in it I was surprised about because it was just so short-lived, to do with this Norwegian or Scandinavian topic. No, I mean, growing up, I always heard about Norwegian stories or some Norwegian in our, what we call it. I personally have a Norwegian, or two of them actually. Yeah. Good friend of mine passed away, was Norwegian, and we always thought we was closer than
friends.
Yeah. So that was, it's kind of a little pet project for me.
So, Ms. Loxley, what about that? I mean, you've seen the world and you've had the benefit and counsel of your father, for instance. Are there things about our history, the places we've settled, the interactions we've had, that is, wow, this little small place with a few people, and we've gone so far afield?
Yeah, I don't think that we've really explored, is that the right word to use, explored or really treasured the history that we have. Because as far as recording or history in tangible form where you can access it quickly and understand, we're probably 100, 150 years behind.
Yeah. And what about how, I want to be mindful of this because I think we're still waiting to share publicly some of the things that we've discovered, right? But we have a history book, we have a level of recorded history, and then there is this, not even oral history, but that's probably the best way to share it, where in our people, amongst our people, we hear stories, right? I always joke and say that my father would talk about, his ancestors telling Columbus and the likes, hey guys, you lost, right? And for the longest time, I thought it was just a joke, maybe not even something I had even heard, till one or two other of the elders in the community would share stories, and you start to realize that maybe there's something to that. exaggerated as it may be, as perhaps not as accurate and the like. But then you start to deliberately stumble upon things in history books. I saw a picture of my grandmother. I never knew my grandmother's. And then I went back to a book and I go, wow, this looks like the same person. Very, very, very similar on my father's side. And I go, wow, the native Tainos and the people in this lady looks the same. Okay, so 2 photographs, one is a drawing and one is, but they're so distinct.
Well, you see, I guess photographs probably didn't. There's not a lot of visual evidence except somebody sketching, a cook on a ship sketching what what
and
do you think?
They still actually haven't got a photo of Columbus, if we talk about Columbus. Not photo, sorry, image that they could say concisely is Columbus.
There's several, there's various images of
there's like 3. Because we did a Columbus show, and I had to choose one, and I thought, actually there was a description of him, so I kind of used that.
But I think if you went back to the Spanish archive somewhere and pulled up something from Cadiz, where he actually was sort of headquartered, and got something from that general location.
Yeah,
it's probably the most accurate one that you'd come up with.
Right. Yeah. So is it the challenge then? I go back to the, and you've said this to me many times that I realized that I heard it but never, took it on board. The African proverb. Not until the lion gets a historian, the hunter will always be the hero.
Right.
Basically,
right. Well, that's an old African, I think, proverb. Yeah.
And you think about
it's fitting today too.
We think of the discovery of the New World. Nobody talks about the Chinese. We think of Columbus. We think of Cayman specifically. We think of Columbus, but nobody stops and go, well, wait a minute. He came to a place from somewhere, and there was things and people. Here.
How we get to Columbus?
Well,
from Norway to Cayman, I thought was a stretch, but now
no.
Columbus.
And the reason why, the reason why is that as Ray shared and as you shared, I keep asking myself, let's step outside of that, by the precondition, the program approach, and toss Columbus like the rest where they should be, over in a heap somewhere, right? And focus on other stuff, because the Cayman of our stories where we've had, prisoners of war, where we have that, as you share, Mr. Loxley, people who have come, and we don't talk about it amongst our families. We respect their experiences and all these things, but yet the story is being told always from one perspective. And whether it's the Spanish archive, whether it's the Dutch, whether it's other things, are we willing to commit the resources, the people, the money, and the time to delve into this thing? So I asked,
because to that point, I'm not a professional researcher.
No.
If you see my notes, you'll say that. But I got the drive to go looking for stuff, and I'm curious and stuff, and hence everybody wondering why Norwegian topic? What did I do with Cayman?
So he won't, and I won't either, because I know people are gonna hear it instead of doing what he did. He said, "Wow, he's a self-professed armchair historian." Very, very much not only intrigued by Cayman's history, Caribbean history, but world history, right? And he said, I have always heard this from my grandfather, but never paid it in mind. Just thought it was an exaggeration.
What's that now?
This connection of Norway and Scandinavia and so on. Now, we know that we had councils, so to speak. We were trading with them, as we did with the New England coast. We had a small number of people, we had catboats, and we were doing this stuff. A level of autonomy, the one used by independence, political and financial autonomy. In this particular time frame, that speaks to the ethos of the people.
Well, independence, I think, is what, they were
the bad word.
Independent people. Well, no, but
or if you spell like me, the N word.
Independence, N. It's true. Yeah. You realize now that race is in color. So, but you are right. So they were independent people, right? People with a resolve and a resilience and a willingness to stand their ground. We may have seen it immediately after Ivan, but as this gentleman shared with me, he said, it caused him to go back and to start to rethink his concept. So I borrowed his phrase, take Columbus and all of that, throw it off to the side, and restart your thought process of where these people, where they come from.
Well, you mentioned just a few seconds ago about committing the resources to finding all this information. And I don't think anywhere in the history that I knew of the CI that we've really taken a serious approach to it.
No.
I think it's just sort of like within our grasp. That's as far as we go.
Even though, let me say, a lot has been done, with what the archives have done and the memory bank.
Definitely.
Of course, a lot of those things are, I'm sure they're not digitalized yet, and it's
some of them are. Yeah.
I mean, and only because of how important it is, right? I hope he doesn't mind. Our Cabinet Secretary, Sam Rose, just shared with me prior something that we were seeing,
some
right?
Stuff that I was looking for.
The Handbook of Caymans, 1908, right? It's now being sort of circulated within the community. And my understanding from others is that as a result of this jovial approach in our ad to promote the show, it caused this gentleman and some others to,
that was the blood part.
Yeah. To look at and not take for granted. So I'm hoping that through the CI Retros Talk to the series, through this, that all of us, in particular Caymanians, would seriously rethink, start to value and respect that this is an incredible space and place with people who are amazing.
Well, for some of us that I suppose did not get it by the osmosis process going up through the years, if it's not in the schools, then it's going to be continually on a downslide.
Yeah, but even when you get in school, the cultures that have here, they preach their own. It's very hard for you to. It's a very special person to sort of give up your culture and adopt and disseminate or preach another person, or appreciate another person's culture. I'm finding that's a rare thing. I mean, I find we do it too much.
Yeah,
I think that just like a Cayman kind thing,
But also, and as we go into the break, I'm glad you referenced that phrase, and I think it's an attempt by many of us to show that innate hospitality that we have. But I think it's
backfiring.
But I know you said that publicly. I share with you, and unfortunately, some who hear it think we're being disparaging. It's not. No. It's something that's held against us.
On Facebook agreed.
Yeah, and I've gone back deliberately through the things that you shared, and look at the language, right, of the recorded history as written at that era by the people, and I have to consider sometimes: is it my interpretation and sentiment as I read it? Or is it the flavor and the way it was written? And that oftentimes I'm thinking that isn't necessarily the most respectful tone. Could it be interpreted otherwise? So when we come from the break, Mr. Loxter, Scandinavian, Norwegian.
Yeah.
Ray, you can tell us about you.
Sure.
All right. And for those who are listening, no, I can't disclose that yet. Can I hear it? No, we'll tell about it after.
What?
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned for more See What I'm Saying.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
The MedLab team would like to extend their congratulations to all of the Heroes Day awardees. Thank you for your service. They say variety is the spice of life, and that's why at Subway we're introducing the new boneless hot sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walker's Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Apply today to the Walker Scholarship and Legal Training Program. You will join the Walker Scholarship and Legal Training Program, knowing that you will be offered more, both throughout your time in the program and after qualifying as a Cayman Islands attorney at law. Preparing Caymanians for a career of excellence through mentorship, opportunities, repetition, and experience. Be sure to have your application submitted by 28th of February 2023. Visit the careers section at walkersglobal.com to find out more about Walker's Cayman legal scholarships, articles of clerkship, qualifying work experience, and legal internships.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Siwa Sayin is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM. Siwa Sayin.
Good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to both Ray Biker for his, unwavering commitment. I think only sort of copied and encouraged by Mr. Loxley Ebanks. So Ray, Mr. Loxley is, was it 150 now, sir? And Ray, you 15? So,
well, how about that relationship?
Yeah. There you go. See, there's life after.
Life.
All right.
Right. So okay, so you probably heard the ad, and like I said in it, people probably wondering why Ray Banker came up with this far-fetched Norwegian show. What I got to do with Cayman? Well, if you're like me, and hopefully, if I want to poll the audience too, if they did DNA and if they came up with Scandinavian also in their DNA, what are you laughing about? Or you talking about it?
Just focus.
Talking about the ad?
Focus.
The blood.
Focus. With
That's the only fluid, right? Okay. So I want to find out if anybody else came up with. I know a couple of us came up with Scandinavian in their DNA. Now, again, I keep saying to people, get their DNA done. I actually haven't got mine done. I've got I got my parents. Yeah. I got my parents done. That's a show that we need to do, the DNA. But get your oldest relative done, because every generation you lose 50% of the information. So by getting both my parents done, I go back to 1600s using this the 23andMe DNA. You can get other ones. 23andMe seems to have this timeline, this ancestral timeline that good for me. Visually points out like where at a certain aspect, like these designated nationalities or identified nationalities like North Africa and Italian, and in this case Scandinavian. And it goes back in one of my parents, my father's thing, goes back from 1660 all the way to 1780. So somewhere in there, that time period, there was a full blood Scandinavian somewhere. So that's 1600s, and that's only like 1% of the DNA. And so basically, if I get it done, it probably most likely wouldn't show up, just as a trace background noise type thing. Okay, so it's 1%. So that's barely getting there. So 1660, and again, so my mother is from 1720 to 1810. So that overlaps like 1750 and 1780. So it could be possibly the same person, right? So a lot of these, when you do Caymanian DNA and you compare them, they're probably the same people way back in 1720s and 1600s as well.
Well, Ray, thinking about what you just said, that both of your parents are Scandinavian, could be from the same root. So you're probably your own grandpa.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. That song? Your mother is your mother and your sister. How do you go? Your mother and your sister, you something, don't know? So that's why, and like I said, I have a friend, I have a thing with Scandinavian, and we felt that we were closer than just friends. And it, according to this, Scandinavian could have been one of our founding fathers, according to this DNA. And I kind of think that goes back to what Mr. Locke is saying about, what are you talking about, the osmosis thing and all that stuff. Me and my daughter it could be just circumstance. We both love salmon. I had at one time 3 types of salmons in my fridge. I mean, that could be just a thing, but these type of things could be, get into your DNA.
It shows up, yes.
Yeah, gets into your DNA. And also, you're looking at the thing. If you join us on Facebook, or YouTube.
Facebook too, Ms. Susan? Yeah, everything. We're there now.
You can see I've got my personal thing that I've researching. My great-grandfather, American grandfather on my mother's side, and Andrews, he, when we got in touch with the American family that we lost touch with in the 70s, they started, because of Facebook, started sharing all kind of photos. So we sent him 1 or 2 photos that we had of him. We were so lucky that we have photos of a great-grandparent. I know in Cayman how rare that is. And so we actually have, they sent us back the younger one, the one that we had. And you can, like I said, you can look up on YouTube right now and you can see it. And he's wearing a Scandinavian seaman's outfit. I think that's a winter, kind of winter outfit. And I'm there like, what? Because I'm there trying to find out what wreck he was on. Because we don't have the name of the wreck. We don't have the date necessarily. We just have to triangulate it by, firstborn and stuff like that. And so now I have maybe to look at a Scandinavian ship. And we've got a couple of them that are possibilities. But that's my kind of double connection with Scandinavia.
And just for Mr. Locke's benefit, one of the things that we looked at is not just, I guess, trying to look at DNA and whatever science that can, but if you look at recorded stuff, a name. Now, many would say B-O-W-D-E-N and B-O-D-D-E-N.
B-O-W-E-N,
Others, they may be similar. Well, other individuals from mostly East Europe would say that the female spell name, and I should have wrote it down, so I remember, one way with the letters being one way and then the males another way. And when they would come across to say North America, US in particular, that just like in Cayman is now said and spelled phonetically, and it changes. So when you do the search, the 2 names do not look alike on a search, but they sound.
Some of the genealogy sites have I forget what it's called, but it's basically sounds like
phonetic.
Phonetic thing of it, but they call it something else.
So we find in that there are people with different things, but the connections are there. Suffice to say that now comes back to a Cayman connection, and as Norway and Scandinavia to Eastern Europe to
can I so just to define actually what Scandinavia is. Okay, Scandinavia most commonly refers to Denmark, Norway and Sweden. It can sometimes also refer narrowly to the Scandinavian peninsula, which includes Denmark.
Which excludes, right?
Which excludes Denmark, but includes part of Finland, or more broadly to include all of Finland, Iceland and the Faroe Islands. I actually met people from played badminton Faroe Islands. So I was asking any other Caymanians that with Scandinavian DNA in it. But Miss Arthelin doing the research in the archive, Miss Arthelin Pedley there sort of clued me in that it could be Scandinavia, could be Hennings or Henning. And then I did a research on the name, and I don't have all the research here, but a lot of hits. First name male. Norway is like 5,000 something hits compared to like Sweden, who has like 1,000 something hits. So it's like it's prevalent. The first name.
We believe my mother was a Henning, and we believe that the Henning, original Henning, John Hooper, came here in the early part of the 18th century, and of course. what I think we've been able to gather is that he actually was a Scottish naval officer who got shipwrecked around Cuba and made his way over here on a turtle boat and fell in love and got married and had, I think, 6 kids. And but, very well it could, we even think that there could be some German in there.
There's some German. Now that region, actually the English, French, and German kind of shows up with the DNA, because there was so much mixing way back when, like maybe 1500s or even further than that. So it was kind of hard to discern what DNA is what, in that region.
Well, just thinking back what we're talking about now and looking at present day. Now, how many Norwegians do you think are visiting these shores right today? Yeah. Yesterday there was, I think, 3 Norwegian, or at least 2 Norwegian ships in, Norwegian Caribbean line, and they got Norwegian on them.
Yeah, yeah. And then how much? This is the part I want to know too from the poll in the audience. How much sea stories? We could get to a couple of them, but how many people listening now that gone away to sea? I know there's not a lot of seamen left, but if they could tell us, their Norwegian stories, it seems like everybody has a run into Norway because they're maritime.
Yeah, I mean they were all over the place.
Yeah. Clearly.
All right, we do have that break. We're gonna do our best to work with Miss Susan as she does her best to accommodate us. Good luck to her today. We got Mr. Loxley. All right, we're talking about the Cayman, sort of Scania, Norwegian connection. It's about laughter, but it's about learning. So please stay tuned and join us after the break.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by CG Britke. Insurance, health, pensions, life, where people come first.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
Savannah Pharmacy, proud sponsor of Talk Today, Cayman's #1 call-in talk program. A new year upon us. Upgraded resolutions. Some things change. Some things linger. When it comes to who you trust, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here, where everybody knows your name. Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman is proud to celebrate 50 years of service. Join in on the celebration with the upcoming fundraiser golf tournament. It's happening Friday, February 10th at the North Sound Golf Club. Players and sponsors, take the day off. Enjoy the beautiful weather and know that this fundraiser will support the Lions Club of Grand Cayman Community Services. Friday, February 10th. Email Michael Haviland at president@lionsclubgcm.ky. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman celebrating 50 years of service to the Cayman Islands.
Barry's Golden Jerk, the Cayman Brac sensation, ranked the #1 restaurant in Cayman Brac by TripAdvisor and home of the authentic jerk. Barry's Golden Jerk, serving large portions of the best jerk chicken and pork. Open Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday near the airport, or call 917-6713. Barry's Golden Jerk. It's simply better.
New year, new arrivals at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery. Modern and stylish bedroom sets are up to 20% off. Save up to $600 on Beauty Rest Black mattress sets and iComfort mattress sets, including adjustable bases. Our Palliser shipment of quality sofas, sectionals and sleepers has also arrived with great family-friendly steam-resistant fabrics. Discover all the new arrivals, including plush beanbags. Save now until January 31st, only at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
How would you describe Siwa Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
Siwa Sayin.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome back. Miss Susan. I tell you, you got to pay attention. Yeah, she said.
Was that a little free for all?
Yeah. I was just reading something Ray, someone had sent to us, but we're talking on our Siwa Sayin show with Mr. Loxton and Ray, and we're looking at the whole idea of the Cayman Norwegian connection in Scandinavia. So, Ray, you're going to share some stuff with us.
Yes. I think the earliest that I've found, as opposed to the DNA, was officially like 1855, and that was when William Eden was the what was he then? The custos. He was a custos back then. We didn't have governors. We didn't have what do you call them? The
commissioners.
Commissioners. So we have William Eden in 1855, who was the counsel for both the U.S. and Sweden. And now you say, well, what it has to do with Scandinavia? But 1855, Sweden and Norway were the same. They were joined. Norway. It seemed like the ugly stepchild sometime of Scandinavia.
Mm-hmm.
They were linked with Denmark at the time, and at that point they were linked with Sweden. So if actually we go back to say, well, what's Scandinavia in the DNA there? What's it doing all the way over here in the 1600s? That could be again what Lasse talked about, being in UK. And that's the ancestors of the Hennings or something. That's full. It could be identified as a full Scandinavia. It could be that, but we know about all of the superpowers that were in the area. We know about Portugal first. We're in the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
Portugal, Spain, French, the Dutch, but we don't know that that Denmark was part of the Denmark and Sweden were part of the slave trade also.
Mm-hmm.
What do I have here? Percentage. Danish Caribbean slave percentage was 37%. So it was. We talked about in the African or slave shows that we had, was 12 million Africans taken from Africa, but only about 10 million made it over. So you had some loss on the way there. And again, the bulk of that was Brazil. And again, we talk about how we only hear about or we think about North America being, the crux of where all of the slaves, African slaves came. But really, they're at the bottom of the list at 4%.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so we got Brazil 45% and Danish Caribbean, at 37%. Spanish America at 11%, and then again, like I say, 4% in North America is where the slaves went. So the Danish, and again, they were employed for the sugar for labor. The Danish West Indies, or Danish Antilles, the Virgin Islands, were a Danish colony in the Caribbean, consisting of St. Thomas, St. John, which is St. John in Danish, and St. Croix. The islands belonged to them until 1917. And it became American. Okay.
By the way, they were purchased.
Yes, they were bought. And so Norway was in the region, 1800s up to until 1905. That's when they dissolved from Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
So they were Swedish. They were Swedish all through the 1800s, basically. And it was like a 100-year period that they called it Golden Age, which was 1875 to 1975, called the Golden Age of Norwegian history. Seaman Keane, one of the largest occupational groups in second half of the 19th century. In one of the first census, what is it, 1878, 63,000 men, Norwegian men. So that was every 6 men between 1555 were employed in the merchant navy.
Yeah. It's almost like, if you look at that sort of
very similar to us.
Similar to us, right? And we've seen it, and you can probably help us to appreciate it. But I reached out to a few of the elders, who, and they always talk about sailing on ships with a Norwegian captain or chief mate or whichever, and there always seemed to be that camaraderie and that connection. No.
Well, yeah, their stories, they were camaraderie, and there was also some friction.
Camaraderie.
I'll leave it to you to share. Because the Norwegian, they're tough.
Yeah.
Tough son of a guns.
Big fellas too.
The Caymanians tidn't think that they were any tougher than them.
Yeah.
And the Caymanians always had a couple of pair of pointed toe shoes that,
and we like to fight.
Yeah, and they didn't. The Caymanians didn't back them. They didn't back the Caymanians up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I was asking the gentleman for permission to either record, preferably what he was sharing. He said, no, too many cuss words in that, or to just share. But he always found that when he was on a ship with a Norwegian captain, a particular thing transpiring. But now as you look back, it was probably one of his best experiences, because without realizing then, he felt safer. The competency. I mean, that's me putting in words in terms of what he shared.
Well, they were great seamen, great seafarers.
Yeah. So. And there was a likeness. I think they got along. Not that they liked each other. There was similarity then between their disposition and the desire for it to have a safe voyage.
Yeah, well, and Caymanians learned a lot from their association with the, I call it Nordic seafarers.
Yeah. And speaking of that, if we can touch on that,
yes.
I always try to find out like where we get stuff, where's influence for certain things. Thatch rope, the whole cog and this whole setup and stuff. Now I found something online where it was a Norwegian thing. They were actually shipbuilding. They were repairing, and part of their thing was this gigantic rope machine, and it had all the components that what we had: the three cart, the winch, and then the cob in the middle. And I mean, there were big lines of rope that they're doing, but they were doing that.
Almost the same thing, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that cob, working that is an art.
Yeah.
And you have to really, because if you make a mistake with it, then the whole length of the rope at Cayman, they were usually 25 fathoms, or I think they did some 50 fathoms also, but that's a long way to really guide that cob. And
you have to concentrate on it.
Yeah, you have to guide it.
It's like correctly. The weakest link, like if you mess up on one little part.
I know if Marlena is listening.
Well, Daddy too.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And it's funny because he stand all the way to West Bay that it's found too, you know.
There was a classmate, and I promised you I was going to try to reach out, and I didn't, so I can't call him out on air for different reasons, but maybe he'll remember this conversation, or his cousin, and somehow they'll make a connection, right? So we're sitting in GP, the old GP at the hospital not that long ago, and he's telling me about his family.
This was like a 3-hour conversation then?
No. Listen. I go there, they're fishing. You know, we get through. And sadly for that day, it wasn't long enough to talk. So he's visiting aunts and uncles over in the Scandinavian region, and he's telling me about it. And this is so he's from East End, and I thought, wow, this is transpiring today. They're still around.
Yeah.
And if we could maybe invite some of those to share, because they exist. I do know that Belgium is not part of Norway. To our friend.
But we do have some Finnish. I think it's Finnish, we call it. Yeah. There's a doctor from the Brack that's got Finnish. Yeah. The sons came in.
Yeah. And so we need to appreciate that history, and hopefully as the Cayman demographic perhaps starts to change,
starts.
Yeah. Starts. You have to be positive here. Starts.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was just gonna say you probably hadn't seen any colonial report or any annual reports or anything lately?
No, man. Still positive, man. Still positive.
Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
So Norway, right?
Oh, you want? That's
yeah. That's your cue.
Sorry. What do you call it? We'll find out where we going now. Okay, what you want to do, words, or you want to do our connections? How about we go further? We just start from further back. We talked about 1855, and it was a consulate, and I can add to that, or since then, shipwrecks, the amount of shipwrecks. This adds up, or this kind of gives you an idea of how much
traffic.
Yeah, traffic was in the Caribbean region. Okay, so this is the earliest one I could find. Probably started keeping records and stuff. So 1872, the Alpha was built in little Norway. She was a Norwegian full rigger, weighed I can't relate to these tons, 718 tons. And she was wooden construction.
4 times the size of the Goldfield.
Wow. All right. So she was a good load then. She was a good help to
big.
She was a good help to the economy. So this was a wreck. Let's see where it is. She was en route to take her across the Atlantic and down to Cape Horn. The final destination was Western Canada. Under Captain Nielsen, she was blown drastically off course during a hurricane and was stranded and wrecked on Grand Cayman. 1872. Yeah. Okay. It says they made a note here. 1869, she was noted as carrying 22 young women from Liverpool to Vancouver. It is assumed the ship was that when the ship was stranded on Grand Cayman, so a good chance she was also carrying women on board. So definitely good cargo. Put in the brackets there, much needed in Cayman Islands.
So I
fresh.
I try not to.
It's like them guys in the 80s that used to wait at the airport. Arrivals.
Focus.
That's an actual story.
Well, and that's not. Let me tell you, that wasn't only common to Cayman. When I was in the Air Force in Hawaii, there used to be cruise ships coming in from the West Coast, and if we had little rest and recreation time, we'd go down to the beach at Waikiki and watch what was coming ashore. And then tonight,
see what you see.
And then the next night, we was under the big banyan tree at the Ala Moana.
So it was sort of like reconnaissance then.
Yeah.
So, okay, moving right along. 1876, so was it 4 years later? Okay, under Captain Hoon, what's her name? The Njord, something like that. Niord. I think it's Njord. You can, Scandinavian people can call in and correct me. On the Captain, she was carrying a cargo of 129 tons of coffee from Brazil to her home port in Trondheim, in New Orleans, or via New Orleans. That may be somewhere up in that's probably her home Scandinavian port via New Orleans. When she forced into the reefs of Grand Cayman during a hurricane in 1876. The New York Maritime Register had the following information: Njord, Norwegian bark. Captain Hunt from Rio de Janeiro, September 8th, 1876, with 5,500 bags of coffee for New Orleans, was wrecked in Grand Cayman during a hurricane, October, what is this?
1876.
So why is that? Okay, anyway, she was boarded.
Yeah, she got news for us.
Yeah. What's the news?
Time for the break.
That another Norwegian ship with coffee came in? Mm-hmm. So what do you want me to do with this? So let me just finish this part.
Yeah,
Can I do that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, okay, basically she was shipwrecked with coffee, and I think this is West Bay, okay, because I give you the local account of sinking in. A large ship drew ashore West Bay with mast, deck, and cargo gone. Evidently, she had rolled over and over. 2 dead bodies were found jammed in part of her. Her cargo, no doubt, consisted of coffee, as grains of coffee were found scattered about her. Okay.
So this is 1876, right? When we come back, you see this, as you see, the traffic.
I think that might be Vicksville.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We can talk about that. All right.
Yeah.
All right, stay tuned. And if you're not learning, well, you will. Turn us off.
Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The launch of a new documentary about Beacon Farms, directed and produced by local filmmaker Candy Wicker, is set to premiere on February 8th, with 3 public shows at Cayman Bay Cinema from February 15th till the 17th. You can watch a trailer of the movie at beaconfarmsthemovie.ky. In international news, an urgent search is underway in Western Australia after a tiny capsule containing a radioactive substance went missing. The casing contains a small quantity of radioactive caesium-137, which could cause serious illness if touched. It was lost between the town of Newman and the city of Perth in mid-January, a distance of roughly 870 miles. The public has been warned to stay away from the capsule if they see it. A 29-year-old woman has been arrested in New Jersey for allegedly posing as a high school student. The woman has been charged with using a fake identification document to enroll in New Brunswick High School. She attended the school for 4 days before staff found out her age. School officials said police are investigating the matter and a review of the district's enrollment process will be conducted. These are your latest headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman Brac, on the 8th day of July 1936. Captain Fred Elman Scott was the 5th child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Captain Scott enjoyed a fulfilling career at sea, spanning more than 50 years. He was ahead of his time, employing his mathematical and computer skills to create payroll software, depth charts of Georgetown Harbor, and his pride and joy was his weather program that could detect when a storm formed anywhere in the world and was able to track and forecast its path. He had 6 children and was married for 52 years to Bernadette Silva, whom he met during his tenure in Brazil. In 1954, when Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II visited, Captain Scott had the distinct honour shaking the Queen's hand and piloting the Royal Yacht Britannia and anchored it in the Georgetown Harbour. Captain Scott was a humble man who liked his khaki suit and cap and loved to share his knowledge with those who crossed his path. He was honoured at the National Heroes Day, acknowledging the seafaring heritage of these islands.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks for being a part of our Siwa Sayin show.
Said talk today.
Yeah, it's because we didn't talk yesterday. Ray Banker and momentarily.
Siwa Sayin Norwegian or Scandinavian or Norwegian, whichever you want.
And I'm prayerful that as we talk about this, that it will not only instill in us a greater sense of pride for who we are in our history, but it'll encourage more of us to do some research, the informal research that we do, the formal research that we do, and share it. Because to think that you can go back not just in the mid-1800s, but the 1600s, and it should, if you truly follow the scientific method, query and question.
Well, if you like my Caymanian, multi-generational Caymanian parents, Scandinavian is just one of 11.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just average until, like my brother-in-law did his, and it was just one in one spot for the 500 years.
Yeah.
So you got some people that are like that are, but we are multi.
And it speaks speaks to a lot of the reasons why I think as a people we're hospitable, why we have that.
Yeah, we can relate to so many cultures because we're made up of so many cultures and so many races.
Just to the break, you're talking about 1876, right?
So this one we think the Njord, which we think was the one in Vicksville, and you actually when the storm is bad, or if you probably divers and stuff, there's probably still some ballast stones and stuff there. This would have been most likely a wooden ship, all wooden, I think, at that point. Maybe some of them had some iron. They started doing iron then. I don't know. I'm not a nautical person, but there was a lot of coffee going on that time. There was a lot of coffee washed ashore with what 5,000 pounds of coffee.
So imagine coming from Brazil, heading to New Orleans, and then blown off course by a hurricane.
Yeah,
end up in West Bay.
Yeah,
and. Well, after the break, I wrote it down and I'm going to tell you about a whole lot of coffee, right? So that's
okay. So that's just one. That's the Njord. Yeah. So the next one we got, and these are just taken from the shipwrecks of the Cayman Islands book. Okay. So Otto Lee, this is 1879. She was also built in Norway. She was a wooden, schooner brig, something that is schooner brig. Oh yeah, schooner brig. My Norwegian and Scandinavian not too good. With two masts, that was lost through generations. With two masts and a long bowsprit. Bowsprit. Sprite.
More or less a Cayman bowsprit.
Weighing only 222 tons. She was named after the owner, Otto J. Lee. The ship had left Jamaica bound for Glasgow, Scotland, under the helm of Captain A. Langfeld, when she ran aground off Eastern Grand Cayman. Stranded and completely wrecked on the 18th of July, 1879. And if you tune in, I can show you a picture of her on YouTube. That's how we share it. She was supposed to be one of the finest.
Can you hold that picture up again?
She was one of the finest brigs at the time.
Okay.
In Eastern. You got it?
Yeah.
Photographic memory. She was one of the finest, smartest brigs of the time, she was called. So a schooner brig. And that's it. So that's 1879.
And right? if you saw a picture of the E.A. Henning, which was built right there in the road where Alfresco's is at in West Bay.
Next to Henning's Beach, which is not a private beach.
Oh, it is?
Well, no, not a private by the people next door.
Oh, no.
Sorry, needed to clarify that.
Oh,
need to clarify that.
And
you guys.
And the Henning Cemetery. And hold the picture up again. One, and this is the Norwegian brig.
Yeah, Otto Lee.
It
similar.
Almost the same model.
Wow.
Very, very similar. You know.
Wow. Okay, so that's 18.
I'll get you a picture of the E.A. Henning, and you can sort of compare them.
Size is different, right?
Yeah. All right. And that was one of the things too. If we saw something that worked, it looked good, it worked good, we were taking it. So we have one 1888. We got a little thing here. This we're talking about my research with my great grandfather. I came across this. There's actually a stamp and everything. They got it listed. All the stories is Junga, Juga, like Junga, right? But
Juga.
Could be Juga. But I think, and they were saying, they talked about, it's also, they actually found out that it's actually the Inga. This is the in breakers where there's an anchor sticking out of the water, low tide.
All the breakers in East End.
In East End, and that is the Junga / Inga, and she's a stamp. It's on a stamp.
I know. I know it was there. Whether it's still there or not, I
think it's still
should be
still visible. But it's interesting, right?
It's still there.
Juga or Juga and INGA, the same vessel, but perhaps through.
Yeah. I think there was they talked in this book here. They talked about it was through transcribing it. The I and the J, and the N and the U was because of but I think it's the accent. You got a Swedish captain, the Junga, the Yinga, the Junga.
Anyone remember? I don't recall what the Rhapsody. Who was she belong to? Was she Norwegian or was she?
You mean off Norway Rocks?
Yeah,
off of Treasure Island.
Yeah.
That's the other one. That's not Freda.
Okay.
The Rhapsody was a cruise ship.
Yeah.
And a drink.
Absolute on the Rocks.
Yeah.
You had any?
I haven't. I haven't done that.
So
one
was
yet.
she?
So which one? The Inga? Are we talking about the Inga? Go on.
Let's
call it.
Let's not come forward to the 80s.
So this was no actual record found. Archives about they're talking about the Junga. There's no record found about the Junga, so that's why they say it's the Inga. Okay, so she was oh Lord, where that is now. What is she? Okay, she was location just off near Old Isaac's Point in East End, and you can access it from the shore. You can see it or the anchor, and there's all kind of well documented thing about it. How these savages on the newspaper, these savages came on board like not long, 5 minutes after she was wrecked. But
that's that's how they described us walking along.
Yes, the savages, and it had to be a big old investigation. They even named it was the Wood, and I can't remember what the other last name. They had a big fight who was going to get the boat, because this is post piracy now, and we've gone into wrecking as our industry. And so whoever goes on board and signs up an agreement with how to do who's going to get the hull, who's going to get all this stuff, and they all talk about how Caymanians can demast or how they can strip down a boat like within a day. Everything gone, every brass thing on it. There's all kind of stuff about it. So there was a big investigation about this. Like I said, it was in the paper, and these savages came on board. And now this one was, I thought, lined up with my great grandfather, because it came from Montevideo. What's that? Uruguay. And that's where my great grandfather jumped ship as a 18-year-old American ship. So not until I got, like I said, this picture of him that he was in a Norwegian thing, that I said, okay, maybe he was in a Norwegian vessel. So, but there's all kind of things that adds up. They don't. Apparently there was no loss of life on the Inga, but on my grandfather's there was like quite a bit of people, right? And it looks like they were trying with that anchor. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they were trying to pull her off. They weren't giving up the ship yet. She wasn't like totally wrecked.
Yeah, they do what they call dead man anchor.
They take a boat out and they drop the anchor and they use it to crank.
Yeah, use it as a pull. You know, I guess they'd put it on the winch, I forgot the name of what they call
windlass or something.
Windlass, yeah, the windlass. You know, hook it up and try to pull the ship off. Hopefully that the anchor would not move, but sometimes they pull the anchors to the ship.
Yeah,
and so that anchor had been stuck out there
because of the equilibrium.
So that anchor is out there probably most likely them trying, because they didn't give it up the ship right away. They told the Wood and whoever, because there were shots fired and everything. The guys were like, "Come on now, you wrecked," and they're like, "No, we're still trying to get off." So that was like I had a Swedish captain. I think it was Johansson, his name was, and okay, hold on, yeah.
So this is 1888, right?
1888. So just within that little what time period we gone through? We went about 18
to 75
to something.
1975.
But just for clarity, maybe better edification. we even have it in the 1900s, right?
So we're getting there. What do we have in there? What do we have to 1887. This was a good year, depending on how you look at it. Good year for us, bad year for Norwegians. 1887. So go first with the August. Originally built in shipyard in Sweden for a German company in 1872. She was a wooden brig weighing 255 tons, and the Gus was 113 feet long. And then what happened to her? Okay, she changed into Norwegian ownership in 1896 when she was sold to Olaf and Nygaard, and she was under Captain Nygaard is when she sailed from a home port in Marseilles.
Marseilles, France.
Yeah.
Was it
to pick up general or mixed cargo and set sail for Progreso. That's Mexico. Also got a link with that. Blown off course by violent storms, she was stranded and wrecked in Grand Cayman, March 1887. So keep in mind that now. So it's March 1887. So go down the list now. 1887 on the Brack. Everybody got something in what we call it. 1897. A Norwegian registered. That one was the the August. Yeah. This one is Prince Frederick. She was a Norwegian registered merchant vessel built in New Brunswick, Canada in 1874, traveling in ballast. So that's empty now.
Right, yeah.
She struck the reef.
Well, not empty, no, she was in ballast. It means she probably didn't have any freight or any materials on board.
Yeah. Traveling ballast, she struck the reef on the south shore of Cayman Brac in 1897. The ship was extensively salvaged by the locals. This is like, A.L. Thompson comes to the shore. A.L. Thompson and Foster's. So senior, 1897 in what year she was? What month that was? Do we have a month on that? No, we don't have a month on that. A Norwegian composite ship, wooden hull and iron framing, struck the south shore of Little Cayman 30 years after the Rosetta. Oh, this was named the Rosita. Yeah. And there's a big thing with getting the name mixed up, the Rosetta and the Rosita. Struck the south shore of Little Cayman 30 years after the Rosita in 1897. It was hard to it needs to be further archaeological research done on it, because it's to identify the anchors and things like that, because a lot of the a lot of the stuff was removed and salvaged.
You know, do you ever wonder to connect that up with the prune ship that wrecked in Cayman Brac in the late 40s? How those people knew what to do? 1890 something.
But it was still at that point. There was still agreements and stuff. There was like a legal.
Oh yeah. But that I think that's.
About the receiver wrecks and
that's been.
So this was an industry. This was an industry that we had.
Yeah.
Receiver wrecks and things.
Receiver
like that.
wrecks. Yeah, that would be the Mr. Ernest Pannon was that for a long time. Yeah. And so was Arthur Ebanks, I think.
Hold on, did I mess this up? No, Rosita. Oh, site. Okay, hold on. I got further information on 18.
If a disclosure, Mr. Lockstead, this show once a month is more work than all the shows.
This needed to go over one more time because, like I said, the Norwegian or the Scandinavian slavery thing, and to do with the Dutch and all this stuff, and the Dutch East India Company or West India Company and all that stuff with links with San Andres, Turks, Belize and all that whole logwood thing and all the salting of the Bahamas.
Is, not to put you off, but this is why I shared initially what the gentleman said. We only know our history from the little bit that we know, and we're not willing to expand just a concept or a willingness to explore. And if it's the correct term now, sort of the Spanish-speaking Caribbean alone, the amount of connections that we have there and the historical records that exist. And if you go further afield, Norway is basically around the corner when you think of is it the geological connection, Ray, you would say? Right?
Around the corner? Well, it's like I said, it's fading out now.
Way across the ocean.
Well, it's a distance away, geographically, right? But the familiar connection is right there.
Yeah, we get into some of the stories. Direct connection, intimate connection.
Reference was made to all the trade that was going by here, and St. Andrews. Caymanians went to St. Andrews to gather eggs. Whether the booby eggs, or sprat bird eggs, but
that was Aiken.
Yeah, many years ago, I spoke with a guy by the name of James Reynolds, Caymanian, and he was on several of those expeditions going to St. Andrews to gather eggs, and he told me, he said, there was still big cannons there, big cannons sitting on the shore, and there was always this legend, I guess. They were full of gold, but they didn't have any way of dismantling them.
Yeah.
But later on, he was told that a wrecking company went in there and dismantled the cannons, and they were, like they say, full of gold.
That's one of them Cayman pirates.
Yeah. Part of the gold,
A little bit more on the Rosita. Let's see. She was traveling. She was traveling from Santa Catarina. Where's that now? To Progreso, Mexico again, on the ballast and stuck to reef. There's one Little Cayman. Okay. Let's see. There's still basically some wreckage there. And this is from the shipwreck book, and it's more for like divers and snorkelers and stuff, and it's giving you information about it. So that is 1897, 3 Norwegian wrecks, one on each island in that year. And that was a big deal.
Yeah, and that shows you the traffic, as you mentioned, but it also sort of speaks to something that I've shared with Ray, how many years ago now, a decade plus at least, where if you go back to the centuries, navigating into the Cayman waters, you have to know where you're going, or you will hit a reef, pan shoal or something. We see the consequences today. So it tells me either A, they found a route as they came in from the people who were there, who knew how to make their passage safe here, right? And then that worked in reverse when we would go to Mosquito Keys, say a couple of centuries later, and the same practice of putting our huts on the water there. I'm of the view that they did the same here for the turtle.
I know one thing mentioned about those wrecks, and those wrecks also contributed greatly to the economy of these islands.
That's what I was saying. It's like a Cox Lumber store or A.L. Thompson store just washed out.
Yeah.
So houses are being built, all kind of stuff.
So we see the commerce, for instance, but there's at some point, I don't want to jump in, but we all talk about the political connection too, and they.
Well, at that point, with 1855, all that. So they would have they would have had a Swedish or Scandinavian representative on the islands at that point. So the survivors would most likely be taken care of by the Cayman.
And why, if you ask yourself, again, geographically, Norway isn't that close to Cayman. But to have...
Isolated from Cayman.
And physically, distant and all that. But to have what may be in today's language akin to a consulate or an embassy, why would that have such a physical presence here? And why are we economically trading, sailing our schooners or catboats and whatever to there and trading with them? It has to tell you something, right?
Well, at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, I think at 1800, 19th century, the Norway and Sweden, they're doing iron or iron ore or thing from, like, say, Brazil to...
Yeah, and probably Guyana and down that route.
So they're all over here, huh?
And basically in that era, there were probably not very many steamboats. They were all sail.
Yeah.
And there was and if Captain Paul is listening, he could describe it a lot better than me, but, the best sailing route would be coming up by Cayman and getting up there and catching the Gulf Stream and going up
That's the highway. That's the highway.
And across.
Yeah, you catch that even now. I mean, you bring a boat out through the port, or you come down through the Intracoastal in Florida. If you stop into the Keys, then you can bring her down. Right?
Yeah.
It's an established route, right? And that maritime connection from here to the New England coast, for instance. Okay, rough seas ahead, but
and we're kind of strategically placed too. And not even just nautical. We did an exhibition on birds.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, we're the last or the first stop, depending on how you look at it.
Which direction are you going?
From North America. We're the last. And even the airlines use us.
Yeah. I mean, we look at the importance of our civil aviation authority, our aviation history. And why I say that is that it should fascinate all of us to inquire about where we live. It should fascinate us even more if this is where we want to live, and even more so if this is where our ancestral links go. But to have people, irrespective of who they are, how long they've been, what they are, to say things that either A, untrue, B, that believed to be not so true, or worse, disparaging, and not for them to be corrected or for them to be, sort of clarified. It's a disservice to all of us. And if you're standing in front of an audience as a teacher or a parent or whatever, and you're making spurious statements, and I got a solution for you, but you might like it.
Well, there's a great need for a CI sensitivity course, or whatever you want to call it, course, or
a reverse Cayman kind.
But something to be established to where those visitors coming to our shores can be presented with a little bit of cultural history, and so that they would know.
I there's definitely us to blame. I mean, I always say that.
Well, I mean, think of the papers. We've sort of condensed it down just a couple of pieces for quick reference, right? And not to take notes, but just to use it as it is. Look at how much stuff we've gone through just to be able to have this as a sort of speaking points. What more exists that we don't?
Well, that's the part that what we're losing.
Yeah.
Part that's going. Like I said, if I hadn't got this DNA down with my parents, Scandinavia wouldn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking back, I'm not sure how much research has been done in the old Saturday Evening Post, but there's probably a lot of Cayman CI info in the Saturday Evening Post. And there was another, of course, National Geographic, but the Saturday Evening Post was one of those magazines that, sort of dealt a bit more on the historical and cultural side.
What would be today's equivalent, like Life magazine or something? Not even today's.
No.
National Geographic probably type thing.
Yeah. There was Life, there was Look, there was Saturday Evening Post, and
we have references to Saturday Evening Post coming up too. So we'll get back to the Rex now. This is intimate. This is actually exchange of the DNA right here. So 1903 there was a wreck, and this comes from the National Archive Oral History and Memory Bank. We're talking with Captain Keith in this case here, and he talks about the 1903, which was a very bad hurricane. It's in many papers and stuff like that. A cyclone they called it. A Norwegian, an Englishman and an old Norwegian was shipwrecked here in 1903, and he was a sailmaker, and he married in the Brack, and he married into the Lazaries. It just says Brimsley's uncle, cousin, a question mark, like that. And so the Norwegian was named Johansen, which is like a Ebanks in Norway or Scandinavia. And I think they changed it to Johnson, and it was named Jack Johnson. They called him Jack Johnson, but it was actually Norwegian, and it's a Johansen. And he married in...
So you want to do that clip after the break?
Yeah, we can do that clip after the break. That talks a little bit about a little different thing. These were the wrecks, but we can do that clip.
Well, let's hope that's the clip that we got. All right. After the news, no, not the news yet. Okay. When we come back, we'll play that for you. Thanks.
Savannah Pharmacy, proud sponsor of Talk Today, Cayman's #1 call-in talk program. A new year upon us. Upgraded resolutions. Some things change. Some things linger. When it comes to who you trust, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here, where everybody knows your name. Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we are introducing the new boneless hot sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
JN money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money. JN money, I could send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use a money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know it, yeah. JN money, we a pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know it, yeah. JN Money, we a pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
The MedLab team would like to extend their congratulations to all of the Heroes Day awardees. Thank you for your service.
The application deadline for Education Council Overseas Scholarships for the 2023-2024 academic year is Tuesday, 31st of January 2023. To apply for an Education Council Overseas Scholarship or learn more about the various scholarship programs before the deadline, please visit the Ministry of Education's scholarship application portal at www.moescholarships.gov.ky or email the Scholarship Secretariat Unit at scholarships@gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education.
Hey, Bill, glad to see you back in the office.
Who?
Bill.
Oh, sorry, I think you're mistaking me for someone else.
Tom.
Nope.
Jack.
No.
Alex.
No. Want me to just tell you?
Nope, I got this, George.
No, you don't. Still not me.
Adam.
Not even close, man.
We're like a coworker that didn't forget your name. CG Britke. Good like that. Okay, good to see you, Mark Mike John Sean.
It's Mordecai.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer. How would you describe Siwa Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
Siwa Sayin.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And if you want to share some of your maritime stories, either directly or what you've heard from your fathers and grandfathers,
and Norwegian or the Scandinavian, Swedish connection.
What's the number to call?
Oh, I don't know that. 8, 9. Looking at a video of the night, and then you.
I know.
9, 4. I'll be 85th or something.
No. That's who's on direct line. Don't say that. 949-8037, 949-6990,
okay.
Or 1-800-534-8255. And I'm hoping that we start to appreciate that we have a truly beautiful, rich history. But you take this to
just to go back over to Captain Keith Tibbets on the Brack, the late Captain Keith Tibbets. Now a ship, now a dive site.
MV.
Anyway, so this he's talking about we were talking about 1903. We had another shipwreck. I don't know if it was a Norwegian ship, but it was a Norwegian seaman on board, and he got marooned or shipwrecked basically in the Brack. Him and another person, an English person, and they had to stay there. And it was funny here where the interviewer was saying, who's the interviewer?
Martin Keeley.
That's Miss Heather McLaughlin. Is it?
No, Martin.
Oh, this is Martin Keeley. And it was asking, now. would they stay here, or why wouldn't they go home? And he like, how do they go home? How do they get home? They said occasionally we would get a ship or another ship, but basically how do we get home? We were stuck here. I mean, these ships weren't, and we're going to line up to the clip now. These ships necessarily won't stop in Cayman unless they run aground, like what we said in the storms.
I think some of them did stop for food.
Yes, yes, and that's what we're going to talk about, or slow down, I should say. But we did have a consulate here and things, so was that for shipwrecked people only, or people come in board and get their paper? What would a consulate do? What would they... But it was
many of those vessels stayed in here sometimes for water and
victuals. Something like basic provisions.
Yeah, provisions. Yeah.
So 18 something was still very primitive, but thing. So let's talk about now. Okay, we talked about shipwrecks and stuff. Let's talk about. I've still got a couple more shipwrecks to do. Talking about these passing ships now, these Norwegian ships, and we're in basically the highway of maritime commerce and things. They're not stopping here necessarily, but like I said, but Mr. Locke said occasionally they would be, but most of the time they're just passing. And let's hear about Susan. Let's hear about how they how we interacted with them when they were passing. Check this one out. This is oral history.
Now you mentioned earlier, I didn't ask you for details on that, the turtle crawls. You told me about the conch crawls. What about the turtle crawls? How big were they?
They were big, much bigger than the conch. A big thing that you could put a big turtle into there.
About how many turtles could they hold usually? You know?
Then, I don't know. I think they make them big in part. You use your part, them I hear them saying they come big. You could put a big turtle or two small size turtles.
These turtle crawls were holding turtles for people to eat locally?
Yes.
These weren't for the ones that were going to be sent?
No. And you raise turtle and crawl. They would eat constantly while you feed the turtle on to.
So they actually raise them there for small ones?
Yes, from good size turtle they would bring it, and they would go and break conch each morning, and all the conch, break conch, all the conch trimming. Me kind of feed these turtle off the other side. Because then I was kind of sharks too. Because on the corner used to throw all the fishing thing in the sea. Sharks were a real thing, plentiful all around. And you had to be careful with your children. You couldn't go too far out.
Were there ever any accidents?
People had got hurt by shark there. Yes, got bite several times.
But nobody got killed ever?
Never, not to my knowledge. But sharks was real. Sometimes they would come right. They had us, especially when they killed turtle. They'll run nearly to the shore, they'll get stuck. And big sharks. And you would catch a lot of sharks and you kill them because they used to sell their skin to you now.
Yeah, for the sharking industry. So where were these crawls located?
Out in the sea.
Like deep water? Or
like you would have to go around your basically.
So you'd have to reach it by, you could walk out to them?
Well, that was low tide, but sometimes they had told that to me usually you go by boats.
But they made sure that these crawls were high enough.
Yeah, they see you couldn't. They were made by stick. And then what you used to keep them turtle and crawl for too. The ships used to pass here, the big ships like them Norwegian ships, the square rig ships, not the ships with the engine. And the old people used to, as they was in the land working, they would have somebody would fire one of them old cannon going. They hear, it was ship passing. They would run all 2 miles out of the land, pitch in there, see heated, they get the turtle fixed down, and the people home would get all the parrots and the food would be right behind it, and they would chase that boat from up east and off all Georgetown, West Bay, and they would signal the boat, and the boat would kind of stop its speed, and they would hang on that boat, and I would tow it. They would go aboard the boat and carry all the parrots and fruits and all the turtle and thing, and the boat would give him all kind of food, like what had all kind. You see, there was short of clothing, and the people wanted a parrot, all like the nice coats and thing. They would give them all people would have.
In exchange.
Yeah, or such a these sheets or anything like that. You go next and then come home to come with a boatload of stuff. That was how you get plenty good thing. Plenty lot thing, yeah. And the ships then got, first the ships didn't want to stop, they thought they were pirates. But after the ships got used, and they were Norway ships, Then one captain tell the other, they going across it. They're nice people that now hurt you to bringing things, but and they'd like all this fruit. So some of them they use to make contact and tell them when they're coming back, you look over, and they use a stop. And but the ship didn't stop at speed, it goes slow and tow the boats, and then they get the stuff. Then they let them go. Sometimes they never get back home till next morning. And to bring all this stuff, that way they get a lot of things.
You remember, were there a lot of wrecks?
Huh?
And you remember there being a lot of wrecks? Boats getting wrecked?
Yes, on the reef. Yes, ships used on shore, plenty.
No, I think Mr. Orman, I recall him telling me that there's once, maybe it was after a hurricane, I don't know, but he recalls all these barrels of oil and things washing ashore and that the East Enders kept it for him.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes. And after then the war was, we had a lot done before too, and ships getting all you drift by the drums. Plenty of it. Used to drift by the drums, and people used to get and sell it. Our drums drifting on our land down there where they stole them, but the people stole the oil. We never got any good of it. And some of the lumber used to drift.
A lot of people's houses were built on
Yes, it was lumber. Sometimes another ship we had lost it. Sometimes a ship got a deck load on and a hurricane catch the boat, and they got to lighten her off by dumping the whole deck load of it. So a lot of lumber and coconut. The coconuts wasn't you couldn't get coconut like I can get now. People that had but wasn't near about it. And you used to go down the beach so in the morning get the most coconuts. I don't know, it might be after storm wash sometime. You use the coconut.
Was that a tradition in walking the beach?
Every morning, people are walking the beach, see what it do.
Did I miss that?
All right. Welcome back. And
they're big ships.
These big ships, yeah. So Ray Banko.
But did we get that?
You've been in the archives.
Yeah. And this is from the National Archives. What is it from? The Memory Bank. Oral History. Is either one of them. I keep getting it wrong.
I'm not helping you much either way.
But did she talk about the Norwegian ships passing? Huh?
Yeah, she made reference to that.
Okay. All right. So this was something that I came across looking at passing ships and shipping logs and stuff, and in reference to Cayman. And so I came across some European one, whether English or French or something, and they talked about passing Grand Cayman, and I think the east end of Grand Cayman, and this one principal inhabitant, which normally means a white person, with his two large Negroes. And now I thought, oh, probably just big men. But you know, some of those East End men, like I know the one particular I had favorite, Mr. Donnelly. What's Mr. Donnelly's? Is it? He got a son that was in the police. Oh God. Grayson is his son. Donnelly, I don't know, McLean. Yeah, Donnelly. They're one of the biggest people. You just look up to him and like he fills up the whole door and stuff like, you know them people?
No, yeah.
And so I'm thinking that description after I heard him, like, yeah, they're big people. Because I'm thinking way back in the 1800s it was short. We got a whole bunch of like furniture and stuff that we think are child furniture. Turns out it's grown people furniture. They weren't too much taller than like 5 foot and things like that. But these guys were like giants, and Mr. Dixon we talked about on Majestic. He was probably one of those guys too, right?
Yeah.
So these are like huge. These are like giants. These are like, and it's just I'd say it's just all scaled up. It's not just like big hands, big arms. Everything is just big. Just scale up. Big men, yeah, big guys. So it's what we call a breed of them in East End, if you want to rough it up. So she's talking about in East End, hearing a gunshot, seeing somebody passing, boats passing on the horizon, a gunshot, 2 miles inland, most likely in the ground and rocky ground. If you know East End, it's rocky up there. So they're running in 2 miles from their ground. And I guess they're hollering, getting everybody in. Sorry?
2 phone calls.
Okay. You want to take those? Let's take those. We haven't got a call. Yeah. If I can.
Hey, good afternoon. You run things. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. Am I on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, Dr. Curtis Barnett here.
Hi.
Afternoon, sir. Thank you for sharing with us.
All right. I didn't get to hear everything you and the guests were saying, but Earlier, I believe you were talking about population.
Yes.
Now, it's quite plausible to think that there is Norwegian blood flowing through some of us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's more so in West Bay than anywhere else in Cayman, but certainly in West Bay, it's quite probable that some Norwegian blood, even if not a first-generation direct immigrant, came here, by the ones, by the twos, or like they went to the States, of course, by the 100,000. But yeah, I mean, we all know about the Vikings.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the Vikings came out of Norway, principally, although they think there might
Or
have
the
been
Nordic region, yeah.
That's correct. Probably the western area of Scandinavia more than further east, which is Sweden, and or even further south. I mean, there were some from further south as well. But you know where they went mostly when they went with their ships and with their purposes as guards and military men and so on. They went mostly southward down to France, and we've all heard about the Normans, right? You hear the distinction there. They settled in a place that came to be called Normandy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear the relationship between Normandy and Norway, right? And that's a fact. They settled there, and those of us who read a little history know what happened approximately around about 1000 AD, when they decided now they want a little bit more room and a little bit more land and power and so on, so they went invading into England, right? It was the Normans. So, if some of us have any English running through our blood, it's quite possible that there might be a little Norwegian mixed up in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But certainly I shared, like in the beginning of the show, I don't know if you heard, both my parents, one from West Bay, one from town, and got Scandinavian in from like 1700s for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have, so there were those who went southward, and not just into France, but mostly there, and that's where they settled in terms of their European immigration. But some went directly westward from Norway into Scotland. And if you ask any Caymanian, especially from West Bay, where their ancestors come from, I'm asking you right now and your panelists, where did your ancestors come from?
Yes.
You know?
The British Isles, and you get a lot of Bracas still.
And of course Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're kind of emphasizing from that area of Europe, Northern Europe.
Yeah.
And so many of them, many Caymanians will tell you, Scottish. Their ancestors are Scottish, or were.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just recently I rediscovered an interview I did in 1976 with Aunt Mimey in Mount Pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
Mount Pleasant, okay? And lots of you would know her, and
yes, sir.
The
104, I think.
Yeah. Jemima Parsons.
Yeah, Miami. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. And she informed me that her grandmother, Sarah, I believe it was the sister of Aunt Suki, who was Grandma Rowena's grandmother. And the two of them came here. They were Scottish. They came here as sisters, young sisters, who ended up in Cayman, and of course made much of the population that we have in Cayman in West Bay, right? And so people like the Ebankses come through them, even though their original surname was evidently Collins, according to Miami.
Yeah.
Collins.
And somebody too that called in or texted us. So is there a link with the Parsons too? Because that's where my parents are linked.
Definitely. Okay. Linked to the Parsons. And Miami Parsons, she was Parsons through marriage there, I believe. but also to the Powell. She was first cousin to Mr. Prentice Powell.
Okay.
And
which was an Ebanks.
So you get all these families linked up. So my grandmother, Rowena, was born an Ebanks, but her mother was born a Dilbert, right? And so you get all these surnames involved there. And of course you get the Powers as well. Because through Scotland, I mean, anybody who knows a little bit about the history of the Powers, the main progenitor there was Adolphus Powery. Grandpa Adolphus, they called him. And he was from Scotland. But then, of course, like some the white young men, he came here as a boy. He got married to an African slave, or in that particular case, evidently the daughter of a slave, Grandma Tory, Victoria. All right.
Yeah.
But their children, which included the youngest one of the several sons and daughters, was my mother's father, Grandpa Ahaziah Sonny Powery. So I mean, half Scottish, half African. So I mean,
interesting.
It's quite possible indeed that there was Norwegian blood running in the veins of these people, whether coming from England, descended from England, or Scotland, or Ireland, because when the Vikings, the Scottish met over, the Norwegians met over to Scotland and the British Isles there, they also got mixed up, not only with the Scottish, but the Gaelics of...
That's what we were saying in the beginning. It's kind of hard for the DNA companies to discern, like between German, French, Scandinavian, and British Isles, because there was so much mixing going on up in there.
A very interesting history, sir.
Well, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Have a good afternoon, sir.
Great.
You got another call? Yeah?
All right. Yeah, let's take the call before the news. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, you guys, it's good to hear you, and I'm glad that you're doing all this historical revisions of the past and knowing all these. You're learning a lot, because I've learned things just listening to you guys tonight, this afternoon. But I wanted to say also that, I remember when I was a kid, when I was a little boy, and we had a grandfather named Emmerich, and he was married to an Irish lady. I think her name was...
Say that again. You broke up with the wind.
No, I said she was
married.
Yeah. What happened is that back then we had a grandfather, Emmerich was his name, and he was married, but he was a man of color, so he was not I don't think he was a white man, but he was mixed. He was not exactly black. He was kind of mixed, but he was married to this Irish lady. Her name was Anna Jane. And we used to call her Grandma Ann Jean. And he definitely was. I remember back then he was involved with when they were moving. You remember they used to have a thing down there where they were moving all the guana and stuff from up in the bushes and
with the railway.
West Point.
The phosphate.
Yeah, with the railway and stuff.
What I'm talking about?
The Rockapon area.
Yeah, and they had actually. I remember growing up, there was actually a railway that was running from up in that bush down to the edge of the Iron Shore, down there, on the West Point.
Wicksville.
Yeah, Wicksville, yeah. And I don't remember everything, but I remember that there was a big business back then in those days.
Yeah.
And we had people from, different parts of the world that came in when they were, see opportunities like they did today, to see opportunities in Cayman that they could be working and doing things and making things and shipping things. And I think that's what we are, such a mixture of, different races and stuff down here. Because there was back then you didn't have to have not a passport or anything like that. You get off a ship, you come ashore. I remember reading about a famous man, a Freemason, who was accused of doing something in the States. I think it was in down in Georgia someplace. And they for things like that, you had to be punished. And they sent him off and put him in some desolate area up in northern Canada. And he came down. I can't remember the title of the book. I read the book. It was a good book. And he came down here when he wanted to get off of it. He snuck away from Canada on a ship that was going to South America. And she got ashore. Or no, she didn't get ashore. It was a storm. And the ship was wrecked just before it got to Cuba, or right after it got to Cuba. And a ship from the Cayman Islands picked up the crew and saved the crew. And this one guy who was a Mason, he came here and he got married here and all that. He was living in Cayman. And then he left sometime later, went down to Honduras. And he was the guy that started, I think it was called the Swanee Fruit Company, something that was shipping bananas to the United States. And that was way back in the early 1800s.
Yes, sir.
This is the book that I read on that. So
yeah, we got the news that we wanted to make sure we get to. But anything quickly you want to share with us?
No.
All
I
right.
just want to say that because I think that we have. What I would like to say, you guys encourage the politicians to get our district councils up and going, because that is so important for people to come by and talk about things, because everybody can't call onto the radio. But if you have a meeting at the district council down there and people come up and talk about things that they know about different things, it's very good.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, man.
Thank you, sir. You too. All right, after the news, we'll share another clip, Ray.
Yeah.
And a song, Mr. Luxon?
Well, we got a couple songs we can
All right.
We go time-wise.
Yep, stay tuned.
Because I got
Savannah Pharmacy, proud sponsor of Talk Today, Cayman's #1 call-in talk program. A new year upon us. Upgraded resolutions. Some things change. Some things linger. When it comes to who you trust, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here, where everybody knows your name. Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drportercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
The MedLab team would like to extend their congratulations to all of the Heroes Day awardees. Thank you for your service.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. In tonight's forecast, partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the mid-70s Fahrenheit. Winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. In international news, Israel has carried out airstrikes on Gaza in response to rocket fire as tensions soar in the wake of a deadly army raid in the occupied West Bank. 6 rockets were fired, reports from Israel say, with Israel attacking what it said were militant sites. There were no reports of injuries on either side. A judge in Romania has described the particular dangerousness of Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan in terms of their ability to target women. He also pointed to what he called their capacity and effort to exercise permanent psychological control over their victims, including by resorting to constant acts of violence. The comments came in a written statement from the main court in Bucharest, in which the judge laid out his reasons for extending the brothers' detention last week, as well as safeguarding the investigation and ensuring the suspect's presence at any future trial. The detention was justified by the need to manage social tensions and public order around this case, it said. The Tates are being held in custody for an extra 30 days until February 27th, while police investigate allegations of rape and human trafficking. Both deny the charges. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Between the traffic, the meetings, kids' activities, there just isn't enough time. Best Health Pharmacy was a game changer. Not only are they centrally located on Eastern Avenue, but they deliver prescriptions for free anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. I could not believe it. When my prescription ran out, they ran it back to me. Best Health Pharmacy, located at Crown Square Plaza on Eastern Avenue, across from Edie's Decor, offering free prescription delivery anywhere in Georgetown and West Bay. Call 949-1301 or WhatsApp your prescription to 924-5358. Best Health Pharmacy. Your health, your convenience is their priority.
How would you describe Siwa Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
Siwa Sayin.
Hey, good afternoon. Can
I respond? Since we're a history show, kinda. Today, I think around about this time is a historic moment. Yeah, wouldn't you say, Susan? I think about 3 years ago, 1/5 or something happened. I want to see if Dwayne remembers.
It wasn't today.
Well,
if you think 8037,
it was the
1-800-534-8255, and I see that all the message. I think hopefully it was just maybe sent perhaps too quickly. Person was commenting on one of the views expressed by the caller prior to the break, who was asking, well, our government, in relation to the cruise dock that they're building out there, is there, not important enough for timely, accurate information to be given to the public? And is it then that, but for, as I think I understood what the caller was sharing, but for the information coming out of the Jamaican government, we here in Cayman in particular would not be as informed. Well, this person's sort of sentiment is, well, does that speak then to the fact that for those of you who are feeling that, is that an earthquake, Miss Susan? 949-8037. Susan! Yeah. Go to break. Go to break. All right. So, no. Hey, wait for it.
Wait, you gotta get the whole.
No.
Susan, get that. Get that part. Susan.
Okay, thank you. Ray, I didn't know you even do it. Thank you, Ray. So today is the 27th?
Today is the 27th, but
okay.
Tomorrow.
So that will happen on the 28th. And what's interesting, it's
not another earthquake.
Yeah, I did not know Ray was going to do that. And, but it's interesting because I tell you, it's something I was having a discussion with. I'm glad that you were.
3 years.
So that was 2020, right? That was 2020.
A 7.7.
Yeah. January 28th, 2020.
153 apparently roundabouts.
You know what's interesting, right? Did you hear how my speech had slowed down? Minutes before this thing was felt, right? So a friend afterwards said to his mother, "Oh goodness, something's happening to me," you know.
I had a stroke.
And I'm on air long before this thing is noticeable. I actually could feel it.
You could feel, yeah, somewhat. Well, I had headaches.
Right.
I was reviewing some stuff, and I had headaches all night.
I could sense it, and I didn't realize that at the time what was transpiring. So you played that out. Now made me feel that, you know what, there's nothing wrong with people being perceptive and sensitive. I think, what's her name? You know, Miss
Susan.
Faith.
Just gonna break Susan. Susan is a very vacuum.
But isn't it amazing though?
She's the head of hazard management in this area.
That thing was
cute. Susan was out in the parking lot.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That thing was like
no, I wasn't.
Was very unnerving. And Susan will tell you, I mean, and I'm not exaggerating.
I know your face changed.
No,
you were like,
the calmness on me.
Actually, Dwayne was, of course, hosting Talk Today. I was doing the board
Still
and the video.
Remember the number through it and everything, and that was what I was thinking about just now.
And I was watching Sterling's face and his expressions, and I was kind of feeling it as well. And I said, "Sterling, are you feeling that? Through the talk back, through the talk back."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Sterling is like, but he was so calm. Trust me, it was something else.
Like my daughter said, I might look calm on the outside, but I'm shaking inside.
It was amazing, right? And the settled peace, right? And to feel this thing for seconds.
Yeah. It was 90 seconds,
right?
From the video, I timed it 90 seconds, and I was looking in the background and see the thing shaking.
I could feel that long before it happened, right?
And he was trying to tell me to go to break, but I couldn't. I couldn't find the board because the floor was shifting and like it was in a sort of like a tango.
She was swaying like
I felt like I was on a
it was something else,
rug or something when I was up. Where, Mr. Banks? Where were
you?
I had just got home and I had sat down in a chair and I heard this thing start to happen, and I looked up and I said, I think there's an earthquake. And I said, well, let me just get outside quickly. But before I got outside, the after it hit, and I'm telling you what it sounded like to me, because
So you in West Bay?
Yeah, in my house, upstairs house. It sounded like I had a freight train going through that upstairs.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, do I even venture to go upstairs? And I said, well, yeah, you gotta see what's happening. Well, luckily I didn't have very much. I hardly had any damage, but I think there's still some stuff showing up years afterwards that I attribute to it. Yeah. And it was really,
it was. I was late for appointment again, going to the hospital. So
this is the clip you're talking about.
So I'm running from the KFC in town, the by Harbour there, in between, and I did a step, and I was like, oh, my knee gave away. And then I heard the screaming out there by, I think it was some Nepalese workers. So they definitely know about the earthquake. Yeah. And I sat and I realized the car moving. The parked cars were moving. The little water. Yeah, the little water, little small water, whatever they call it, like a manhole thing, popped up. The wires were going, and I look out in the harbour, and I felt like I was on a boat. I was looking out at the water, and I was like, wow. And then after that, I had, like I said, a hospital appointment. So I was at the hospital, and then I hear, tsunami warning, everybody get to the second floor. And I'm looking at my watch going...
So 3 years ago, huh?
I'm looking at my watch going, Dwayne is on air right now. This could be some good video. That's what you think of. I mean, my daughter, I couldn't get to my daughter. Everything, I was like, oh, I hope my daughter's all right. And thinking that she was West Bay primary at the time, I'm like thinking, oh, I hope they got her. She's actually calling right now. I hope they get to the second floor because they only got one building that has a second floor. Yeah. And I'm thinking, there's not going to be... I did... No, that was after we did the research for her thing, but we don't really have a whole bunch of tsunami
indicators
in our history. So that's why I was thinking of video. You gotta have good video, Dwayne. Have good video. YouTube.
Oh, thank you for caring about me. But
good bit, Susan. Yeah. And that's one of our best watched, or your best watched.
But the interest, I mean, and I thank Joel Wilson for putting that there because it's only him, right? But to sit here and Susan said, "How are you so calm?" I'm like, for me, nothing was moving around me. It was sensory from
back. You could see the back were moving.
But I was
camera was shaking.
I was. It was amazing, man. Yeah. No fear, nothing.
That's fight or flight.
Until you molted.
No.
Until you try to get a hold of Susan. Susan.
No, man. And to sense it long before, you said it was a minute and a half before that, to sense it prior to that, I think processing, what is this thing coming, right?
Yeah, the aftershocks and stuff. I had headaches and stuff.
Well, I would want to make a joke about a friend told me about it, but I won't because,
you know, the one that happened right after I went.
Yeah, that one sounded like a truck for me going across. I was in Uncle Bob Road, and
yes, I was sitting in my office, and all of a sudden I see the blind star. I said, I got up.
Peeping Tom.
Yeah, I got up and I said, earthquake. And actually, Jarrad was on the air, and I said, we're having an earthquake, so just don't get carried away here. Let's just keep cool. And
that one was a lot weaker than.
It wasn't. It was about a 5.
4.8 or something like that.
Well, go walking on my driveway. All of a sudden, two legs on there.
You fell.
No, not me. Again, it was, but the water came up and he tripped him over. Ah, boy! But it's
a reminder that we're on the fall.
Yeah.
And
so
we're very small.
How did we put that into the note? Thank you very much.
You like that one? We're a history show.
Only you, Bobo.
Okay,
only.
So let's talk about some more. We call it. We got Rex, but we really need to get this one, the Battle of Veracruz. Who wants to read this one?
Mr. Loxley? You want me to read it?
You have to go, there's one part you have to go, suckers, blank suckers.
All right.
Why don't you read it?
Yeah. I can't find it.
Okay, let's see if I can recall it. Do it now. Okay, so this is called the Battle of Veracruz, and it's subtitled, the time that Caymanians whipped the Norwegian in a drinking contest. Okay, so this is apparently... I got this from Captain Paul. He was actually on this boat, and it was the Truxton, and we talked about earlier, or somebody mentioned.
Yeah, this is the poem, right?
Yeah, somebody mentioned about the what's the name of the company shipping company?
Swanee.
Thank you, sir. So so it goes the Battle of Veracruz. Okay, so now you heard of Santa Ana and the trouble at the Alamo, but this not.
But that's not all compared to the battle I heard and saw in Old Mexico. The stout Norwegians hold the championships for drink. But before you agree, I'll tell you of a spree that really made you think. 'Twas the first week in May when in Veracruz Bay, Adeline struck her rusty bow and the crew piled ashore to drink booze, I can see that, and to whore, and forget their dirty scar. They were laid by Norwegian Andy, whose prowess had never been in doubt. But their sunset had the halfway through the fray, the Caymanians had put him to rout. Now, what was of men are Caymanians? That question I sense on your tongue. Are they short? Are they fat? Are they ugly? Are they tall? Are they handsome or strong? In truth, I'll say neither. Their appearance will make no one blink. But by Thor, by Odin, and Neptune,
these blank suckers
really can drink. This is Captain Paul, to return to the scene of the battle and participants locked in the fray. To would only be fair to say who was there and won glory for Cayman that day. There was Bush, there was Farrington and Miller. Colbert Jackson arrived late at a trot. It was easy to tell he was mad as all hell. He'd missed the first opening shot. 4 whores and a madam did serve him. The drinks came up fast without break. And they had sense to know he dare not drink slow. Norway's honour was clearly at stake. Oh, east is east and west is west, as Kipling said once in high glee, till 2 drinking races stand with drinks to their faces, bent on settling a rivalry. Old Landy redoubled his intake. He's a rough drinking man in a race, but slowly at dawn his prowess was scorned. The Caymanians had tripled the race.
The pace.
Or the pace, yeah. Even the glasses, huh? At about 3 or 4, they were all shown the door. They'd clean the bar out of its stock. With decision in doubt, they swore they'd find out and return to the ship at the dock. Once aboard, some say Andy retreated. At least we know he turned in. To the old saying goes, take a little repose, come back in the morrow and win. The Caymanians don't hold with that proverb, and to Miller's smart room they repaired. Until Andy got up, they continued to sup. Their songs over the whole ship were heard. They soon joined with several more drinkers. 'Twas a talented Caymanian crew. Raymond Yates swelled the throng as they all roared in song. He demolished a bottle or 2. The great Norwegian champion awakened by this time, he thought they'll be stoned. But of course, it weren't so. They were all raring to go. So he hung his poor head and groaned. Final details remain a bit hazy, but the outcome is generally known. Back uptown they went till the door all was spent, and Andy deposited from his throne. Deposed. So here I am told how brave men and bold fought the battle of Veracruz. So the whole world will know how Norway got laid low and Cayman stole his glory in booze.
So this, I got this from Captain Paul, and I heard he had said this on one other thing, but I got some details on it. So okay, the bush in there mentioned was Vernon. He called him Flacco. Have you heard of that name? Flacco Bush?
Yeah, Vernon, real tall, lanky.
Yeah, tall, slim, Westby. He was a fireman on board. So it was about 30 crew approximately on this at Adelin. And the Andy now what was he? He's a pump man. And hold on, yeah, Andy, Norwegian Andy, they call him. Oh, where did I have that? Okay, yeah, Norwegian Andy was the pump man. Okay, they don't have a last name for him. And the writer of this was, we talked about the Saturday Evening Post. Yeah, Saturday Evening Post. And this was written 1st of May, 1961. And you don't know the name of the writer, but Irish-American radio operator possibly wrote for Saturday Evening Post because it sounds like he's a good poet and good writer. Again, the ship was owned by Bernath and Lambeck, locally known as Mr. Young Company. And okay, so Norwegian is the thing, and there's a tanker post-war thing. And Captain Paul said it was a real rust bucket. I guess that's why he said it rusted about. So okay, we got the bush. The bush was the Vernon Flacco Bush. The Miller now. This is how it ties into our last show, Dorian Miller. Dorian Miller's brother. What you said, Levine? Levine. Miller was the room I guess they ended up in. And he was a oiler or a fireman in the engine room. And the Farrington now, this is connection with me. This is Uncle Eddie or Eddie Farrington, the Devil Ivan's father. He was the chief cook, and he was the one that was in the war. He was in this concentration camp.
War,
yeah. So this is 20 years after or something like that. Colby Jackson was chief mate, so second to mate. So other people on board now with Mervyn Parsons. So it's like almost all Caymanians on board. This is a mixed ship here. Mervyn Parsons was the engine room oiler. Cleveland Tim Powell was a fireman. Carl Bush was a bosun. And it's not Captain Paul's Uncle Paul. It's a Westby with a South Sound father. Wray Ebanks, Captain Wray, I think AB, and he's
Captain Wray's still around.
He's still alive. And brothers Ashton, I think Ashton Ebanks was his brother. AB also on deck.
Not necessarily. Captain D.D. Ashton. That's what he could think of.
Okay. Again, this is from Captain Paul's memory. Varian Ebanks will be still around. Engine room, one of Dux's sons.
Yeah.
And his brother, or is his brother? Hold on, brothers Hewitt Rivers was the second cook. Hewitt and Denton Rivers, brothers. Denton Rivers was next door neighbor on Hill Road. AB, able-bodied seaman, right? AB.
Yeah. Able-bodied seaman.
And Buddy Cyril Parsons. I know him as Buddy.
Buddy.
So he's still around. It's Frank Parsons, and he was a fireman. He's also a Westby. Carson Yates, fireman, Westby.
Carson Yates, and Raymond Yates is listed here. He's my neighbour.
Okay, so Captain Paul was there. He was a third mate. Booth Hurlston was the first assistant engineer. Harry Anderson, he's from town, AB. Oren Connor, which is I think it's probably OC's father.
I think so, yeah.
Oren Connor, so that's a thing. Let me see who else. Austin Percy was not from Georgetown, third engineer.
Austin, yeah.
Hursley Hides. AB from Westby. John Solomon from Georgetown. OS. What's OS?
Ordinary seaman.
And then Cooker, he couldn't remember his name, Cooker Walton from the BRAC. If anybody in the BRAC knows that, maybe they can call in or add it to the Facebook thing. Colin Bodden, I think he's question mark from Georgetown.
Yeah, I'm not
No.
familiar with it.
And Albert Toparaska Jackson. I think he's the nickname. He's an officer messman. Officer's messman.
It's probably from up there in the midsection, Newlands. Jackson is up there.
Tommy Jackson, Galliman. He's from Savannah. He was only 16 years old. And the rest again.
Tommy's still around too, I think. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm sure.
that makes sense. He was 16. So Andy the Pumpman. Catlander was the captain. He's Dutch. I don't know the name, but the German second mate. He also liked to drink. Elias from Paraguay, second engineer. Adolf Holman, chief engineer, also German. We have to say Norway is what Dada said, is a dry port. What do you mean by that?
Well, it means that you couldn't buy liquor over the counter.
Now, apparently Norwegians have that gene, have gene in there, alcoholism in their gene. So that's why they would call it.
We got a final break. Susan, thank you for letting us. And Ray, all right, we'll come back. Let's see where else we go.
Go for break. For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, X-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
The MedLab team would like to extend their congratulations to all of the Heroes Day awardees. Thank you for your service. Savannah Pharmacy, proud sponsor of Talk Today, Cayman's #1 call-in talk program. A new year upon us. Upgraded resolutions. Some things change. Some things linger. When it comes to who you trust, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, Savannah Pharmacy, is here, where everybody knows your name. Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, just around the corner, with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
New year, new arrivals at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery. Modern and stylish bedroom sets are up to 20% off. Save up to $600 on Beauty Rest Black mattress sets and iComfort mattress sets, including adjustable bases. Our Palliser shipment of quality sofas, sectionals, and sleepers has also arrived with great family-friendly steam-resistant fabrics. Discover all the new arrivals, including plush beanbags. Save now until January 31st, only at Tomlinson Furniture and the Mattress Gallery, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
How would you describe Siwa Sayin?
A language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Okay, I like that definition. Now let's get back to the show.
Siwa Sayin.
All right, Ray, you want to bring us back?
Yes. I wanted to...
And just before you go, just for those who listened earlier, hopefully you got Ray's desire to historically set the stage for 3 years ago.
We were having another earthquake. Yeah, tomorrow it is.
Tomorrow, 3 years ago. So if we have anyway made anyone on nerve for a second there while I was playing, if you missed it, please accept our sincere apology. That's Ray's way of having fun with me.
Is that, what's his name? What's the guy that did War of the Worlds again?
Oh, Orson Welles?
Yeah, Orson Welles. Yeah. Hope we were having that type of moment.
So 3 years ago tomorrow, according to anyway, go ahead, Ray. So set up.
Okay, sorry. Let me just talk about another how intimate we had with Norway. So we talked about, or the clip talked about Caymanians rowing out, and sometimes I had to catch them all the way down to from East End all the way down Georgetown and West Bay and stuff. Sometimes, so they would sell turtles and all that stuff. Okay, and Captain Paul here, 1800s, a little boy boarded a Scandinavia ship off East End to sell provision. The ship took off with the child on board. 13 years later, the child returned to the island. He had learned to read and write and knew navigation. Years later, this boy became a general in the Honduran army. He was Captain George Dixon. Okay, so that gives you an idea. Then there was another one, and I do not know why I lost it. I think I have it in one of the things here, oral history, where some it's give me the Will Jackson. Give me the Will Jackson thing. It has.
Should you put glasses back on? Where is it now?
It says Will Jackson on it.
Hold on. Sorry.
It's an oral history excerpt.
I know.
I should have it.
It's here.
Lord, all of the paper I wasted this morning. Oh, I have it. I have it. Okay. Sorry. So, okay. So, here, so they used to go chase down the ship and sell them whatever they could. This is Will Jackson in East End now. Hogs, conch shells, and everything that they could. And then a lot from time to time got jobs on the ships by doing that. So my grandfather, he was one as a young man. He went out to the ship and he was hired to board the ship. He was a great big stalwart man. I guess they knew that he had plenty of strength to hoist the sails, and he was hired. He was out there for 8 years before he came back. So he went to Sweden. He went to Norway or Sweden for 8 years. And again, he's one of them giants from East End. This is Will Jackson.
Yeah. A number of our listeners share the same information, and I would love very much to repeat the names, but perhaps it may be inappropriate, even though it's in a positive way. But we know the Cayman lady, first qualified Cayman doctor, settles in Norway.
Yes,
and
we have it in a panel on First Women in the museum.
So it's okay.
Cannot remember. Yeah,
it's okay. Miss Molly Brown.
Yeah,
and then her son, is a physician at the hospital now. So we have that connection. Then we also have a sitting member of the judiciary, married to, a Norwegian as well. I mean,
okay, didn't know that one.
Yeah. Well, she's family to those of us who live close in West Bay, and so she's married a Norwegian seafarer captain, right? Wow. So that connection is still to this day, and it's just wonderful.
I think there's that familiarity there. Like I said, you got the DNA, and you don't kind of lose. Like I say, we were talking to my friend. He's very prominent. He's passed away now. Very prominent in the community. Everybody would know if I said the name.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there going, and I didn't have to convince him. I said to him, do you have, you feel like, and he's like, yeah, I feel the same way too.
Yeah.
And it turns out he moved here and he's actually buried here. So he was telling me a story, or my father was telling me a story how this one Norwegian guy seen him at Royal Palms, one of his haunts. I was telling him the story about the ballast, remember the water thing? And he had owned this ship and would came up with this idea. He was like, I got water in the ship. We're going to Europe anyway from Maine. Why don't I just take Maine lobsters in the ship more? He said, talk to the expert and say, yeah, it could work. So when he took it to Norway, or took it to, I guess, Norway or wherever, all of the lobsters were dead. I don't know why they didn't do like a small batch first to try it out. But he said a big old tanker full of lobster dead. He said that thing stunk for weeks, the whole harbor.
Wow.
Yeah, and the first person he talked to, and he decided to stay here, was Daddy. And that would have been, like I said, most likely some relative, and his good friends were family of mine.
Yeah, and hopefully, Mr. Loxton, as we do this show and the CI Retro Talk Today series, that I want everyone to be proud of who they are, to celebrate their history, their ancestry. But if I could, also celebrate the other cultures and the stuff around you, right?
But we got
but if you're
after our own first.
But if you're in Cayman and this is your home and you want it to be your home, and if you have some connection, either through residency, marriage, or ancestry, take a keen interest, because whether it's the region, whether it's Brazil or Trinidad or the Bay Islands or any part of the, the Spanish Caribbean, whether it's go far afield in the Nordic countries, whether you're in, most of us can probably look at the U.S. connection, but as much as we're connected to the UK, we don't see it, or to Germany. And it's only by having this discussion and a true commitment to looking at who we are. It's amazing. This is a beautiful place, man.
Well, yeah, and you know, it's looking at what we talked about here today, and thinking. I think if you went back and said the percentage of people came here relative to what the population was, that came here, found something good, found Shalamellos and whatever else, and say, you know,
He's buried me.
Yeah, I'm going to stay here. Ain't no place like this, and related it to the ones that come here presently as to the population. You'd probably find out that the relationship is probably pretty close. In fact, it may be balanced more to the present state than what it was back when you had to fight the mosquitoes.
That's what I got from looking at it too. You could think, today is like we're inundated with all these different cultures and stuff. But you look at the DNA stuff, it's like we kind of always had that type of.
But that's it. I think that's the challenge, and I think it's for whatever reason. I say this not in a sense of diplomacy, but deliberately to ask people to consider words. Use the word inundated, right? And we know that every country just about in the Western world is concerned about immigration in whatever form. And maybe instead of seeing it as such, and maybe instead of those of us who want to put a stop or go into that place and I want to put a conquering stop, that we don't feel the pushback as resistance. We feel it as a way, hold on, let's temper this so that we integrate. And through that integration, we recognize that we're more alike than we are different. To Ray's point, the DNA, you take us back, 16th century, Ray? Right? They're just his little thing on his own.
The 17th century,
right? We look at today, and I thank the listeners, and hopefully I did not disrespect the families. If anything, it was utmost respect and love that I want to share it, whether from the BRAC or whether from West Bay. That settlement in Norway, that marriage, the families here, that just shows you that whether it's in the 1800s or whether it's in the 2000s, we still have that connection. Let's celebrate it. So thank you, Mr. Oxley.
And manage it properly.
There you go.
Can you manage it though?
Well, again, thanks to Ray.
And
yeah, that's true too.
Gents, I look over the hill and I look beyond the door and I see what seems to be the ballast. So if we don't, Mr. Loxley,
we just might have just scratched. This is just scratching the surface of the Scandinavian connection thing here too.
Well, we pull in the Gaelic, and then we
which is Gaelic.
Yeah. All right. Monday's a Monday, right? What's happening, Susan? What happened on Monday?
We're getting on our holiday.
You had a holiday? All right. So to all in Sunday, please join Mr. Orrit.
Friday
for the
is
record.
boogie nights at certain places, and if you wanna
join Mr. Orrit for the record Monday, come back for Talk Today right after. Until then, be proud of who you are and be loved.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Here is where tradition never dies. This is your radio, Cayman.
See what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying?
See what I'm saying? It happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
Jointly produced by the National Museum and Radio Cayman. A language, history, and culture show. Remember, it's every third Friday on 89.9 and 93.9 FMs. See what I'm saying?